None of us can really move off this planet any more than the tribe can move off this space, and we've all got children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren that we need to care for and account for.
And welcome to IndianCountryTV.com. I'm Paul Demain, and we're standing here today with Stan Ellison, who works for the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux tribe. And you would think that we were at ground level, but we want to talk a little bit about where we're at. Stan, tell us a little bit about what we see behind you here and where we are at what elevation actually, and what's it all about.
Well, right now we're standing on the third floor of the tribe's wastewater reclamation facility. It's a sanitary sewage treatment facility. Behind us here you see a green roof. It's planted with native plants primarily and some sedums. And it does a couple of different things for us. The primary reason for it is as a stormwater management tool. This roof can take an inch of stormwater, hold it, and put it back up in the atmosphere through the plants. And what does drain off is treated, so we didn't have to build ponds and take up space in the parking lot and some of those kinds of things. It also functions pretty well as a habitat for pollinators. We have a lot of bees, grasshoppers, and ducks nest up here. So it's serves a bunch of different purposes, but its primary function is as a stormwater management tool.
When we look at what the Shakopee people here have been working on, it seems to me you see kind of a comprehensive circle of different activities. Can you tell me a little bit about some of the things we see here? The roof garden is one thing. We saw a turbine as we came into the community. Talk a little bit about the philosophy of how this works and what the tribe hopes to achieve by doing these kinds of things. These cost money, and it's an investment more in the future, I think, than the now. But tell us a little bit about that philosophy.
A few years ago, the General Council, the body that governs the tribe here, embarked on a set of green initiatives and directed staff to take a bunch of actions, which we're doing, and of course they funded them. And they're generally related to sovereignty and self-sufficiency for the tribe. All of these are considered by this tribal government as exercises in sovereignty. And the self-sufficiency piece is tribes can't move. Great-grandchildren have to live here too, so we need, it needs to be taken care of. And along that vein, we've got several energy initiatives. The wind turbine, as you mentioned, coming in. That's a 1.5 megawatt commercial scale wind turbine. Generates enough power for about 100 homes easily. Depends on how windy it is. Not very windy today, so you might not see it turning. And then Coda Energy, which I believe you're going to visit later, is a biomass conversion to energy plant. It's a combined heat and power plant. Burns dried fuel. It burns agricultural byproducts. It burns dried wood. It can burn grass. Anything dry that you can grind up. Very low emissions from a pollutant standpoint. It's neutral on carbon, and it produces heat, which is also being used by the facility that it's next to. And that's located off the reservation. It's a joint venture with the tribe and another entity. We have solar heat on several of our buildings. The two that we use a lot of it are on the ice arena, where they need to heat water for the ice refinishing machine, and in the fire station. The firemen are always washing their trucks, and they need lots of hot water to do that. And so there's a few other things that we've got going on. A bunch of restored prairie. Some of that is going to be used for fuel for the biomass burner. So we get a double bang out of that. Well, three actually. You get better wildlife habitat. You get the fuel for the burner, and you get some of the natural environment that was here 200 years ago back to the way it was 200 years ago, which is another thing that the General Council was interested in seeing, is a little bit of the original natural habitat that was here in the past returned, and get rid of some of the cornfields.
At some of the facilities we visited this morning, there were people talking about the LEED certification. Can you tell me a little bit about what that might mean, and are all these things related, from LEED certification or LEED certification and to your projects?
LEED certification, it's actually an organization that certifies buildings, so it's really related just to structures. The two places you were at earlier today, Mdewakanton and the credit union, are LEED silver buildings. And some of the things that went into that, for example, all of the plywood used in the building came from sustainable forest, and it was all purchased from within 500 miles from here. Matter of fact, all the materials in the buildings came from within 500 miles from here, except for a few things that you just can't get. There's some other features in the building. That building is geothermal heat, so underneath the parking lot over there, there's a series of wells, and the two buildings are heated and cooled using geothermal. Very efficient, very low energy use system. The other things in the building, you were in them, the large windows and lots of active light from the outside, so they don't need to run lights in the offices so much. They're using the sunlight. They're also designed with reasonably large overhangs though, so in the summertime you don't get a lot of radiant energy from the sun in the building, but in the wintertime you do when the sun's lower in the sky. And I've got to say that one of the things that LEED talks about is the increased efficiency of the people working in the building, and the managers in those buildings did really notice, especially the credit union. They moved there from a much older structure, and the staff efficiency is much higher and the people are happier. So
Do you think it's just the aura of the building that makes them feel that way?
well, it's open and sunny, and it feels like you're part of the planet and part of what's going on. So I think people are just happier doing their jobs, and that's, I guess, that's a benefit that's hard to quantify in dollars and cents, but it's certainly of value.
Someone said we were walking on recycled plastic drinking bottles, shredded drinking bottles out in the front.
Yeah, those pavers, that paving system is made from recycled bottles and tires. We've got it in several places. We used it over at the ice arena, the Dakota Ice Arena, and they're also the Dakota Ice Arena, they're designed to be pervious pavers. That's another stormwater management system. So it's designed to retain water and treat it. At the credit union, that wasn't necessary because we had enough space to build a rain garden in that area to treat the stormwater.
And that's what's on the floor here.
And that's what's on the floor.
Rubber of all kinds, tires,
Yeah,
you expect
yeah.
anything in that category.
It's all recycled rubber. And the best part about it is that we don't have, because of the way it's designed, you don't have to have adhesives to tie it into the floor.
You're just locking her down.
It locks in and it lays flat.
I was reading about some waste oil recycling.
Yeah, actually, and if when you're driving around here, you see the shuttle buses from the casino, those are all running on biodiesel. It's a 50-50 mix of petroleum diesel and diesel that we manufacture from waste oil from the casinos. We actually collect the waste oil from all the kitchens and take it to a processing plant and reprocess it into biodiesel. It's a process that takes some of the fats out and makes it a little bit higher combustion and makes it work better in the actual diesel engines. And all the shuttle buses are run on it. And in the wintertime when we have too much oil, we actually take the oil and we installed a burner in the Public Works building, and we burn it in there to heat that building and displace natural gas. And in that same burner, we use the waste oil from the vehicles at the shop, when they change oil in vehicles. That's recovered and used to heat the building also in the wintertime. So we're trying not to throw anything away if we can't, and if we do have to do something with it, we're trying to convert it into a beneficial use instead of just disposing of it.
So if I order, if I place an order for fries, I'm somehow supporting the shuttle service here within the reservation just a little bit?
Yes, you are. Any fried foods you eat at all is keeping that shuttle bus running.
When we talk about all these projects, a lot of tribes talk about a seventh generation philosophy. You said something about that. Grandchildren aren't moving away. What's the message the community trying to tell to its neighbors and perhaps the world?
Probably that we all need to take a little better care of where we live, because none of us can really move off this planet any more than the tribe can move off this space, and we've all got children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren that we need to care for and account for. And it's just that the community here is capable of acting on some things in a little more direct manner than other people are, but if we can set an example and other people move forward also, it'll be good for everybody.
There's a lot of people who visually look at the Shakopee and they think dollar bills. Does it make you feel different about the people you work for when their core values are actually perhaps setting the pace for other people to look at? Does that bring more satisfaction than if you were working someplace else?
Well, first thing I got to say is this is the best place I've ever worked in my life, and I'm close to 60, so I've worked a lot of places. But yeah, the community values and what the community is trying to accomplish are a big part of why my staff actually work here. It's a satisfying experience, and it's fun, and there's a lot of nice people involved, and at the end of the day you can stand back and look at it and say that's a good thing that was done, a good thing for everybody.
If there's something in all of this that I have forgotten to ask, what would it be? Do you have something else that you can contribute to the conversation?
I don't know, the overall progress that we've made on these green initiatives, I mean, we've actually just begun on most of this, and there's a lot more work to be done, and we've got a lot more initiatives we'd like to proceed with. But you know, I just think every single step, every small step that anybody takes is one more step forward towards making the planet a place we can all live on for a long time, and not just paving it all and making it go away.
One of the other projects we've heard a little bit about today is this organic waste foods, and tell us a little bit about what that project is. I hear it understands it ends up with worms helping out a little bit as well. So.
Well, right now the community disposes of all of its waste food the way most everybody does. It goes off to a landfill. We're in the process of constructing what we call an organics recycling facility that will take waste food from the community, and we'll probably be taking waste food from the local school district cafeterias. We're talking to hospitals, grocery stores, and it mixes it with yard waste, leaves, brush, and we compost it and make a compost product that's saleable and usable as garden compost. Couple of benefits. One, it's less expensive than landfills, but the biggest one is that because it's aerobic breakdown, it breaks down in the presence of oxygen, it doesn't produce methane. You put this stuff in a landfill and where it breaks down anaerobically or sealed away from oxygen, it produces methane gas, which is about 24 times as potent a greenhouse gas as CO2. So what's happening in our process is we are releasing some carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, but we're preventing the production of methane. So it definitely improves the greenhouse gas situation. It also keeps material out of the landfill and creates a beneficial product, compost, that can be used to make soil perform better. And we're running out of landfill space. We can't just keep throwing stuff away and burying it. There's not enough room. So that should be in operation by September of this year. And we hopefully it'll be an absolutely full operation by the 1st of October. The buildings should be done by October. So
we'll come down and visit you again.
You're perfectly welcome to. Come on down. You might want to come in the spring, though. It's kind of cold here in the wintertime.
I want to thank you for joining with us today, Stan. We appreciate that.
Thank you very much for coming here.
I'm Paul Demain for IndianCountryTV.com.
It's a satisfying experience, and it's fun. And there's a lot of nice people involved, and at the end of the day you can stand back and look at it and say that's a good thing that was done, a good thing for everybody.